I'm going hard, and then like whenever I eat like lunch or whatever at like 1, I like immediately notice a huge like decrease in my energy.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got
I
that
don't know why.
post lunch
Yeah.
that
It also
Yeah, I'm
it
just like a
depends on when I
crash.
crackhead,
eat.
fucking crackhead, 5 coffees a day
Yeah.
Yeah.
and just charging it. I might die young for that, but
No, we're caffeine abusers too. I'm gonna punch live on this thing right now. In 3, 2, 1.
punch it.
We're live, baby. Welcome to the Exuvium Records
Yo,
Podcast, episode 4, with High Society.
boys are back, y'all.
What is up? What you been up to today, man?
Oh yeah. Oh, cool. I'm looking at your Twitch stream too. That looks
Oh,
sick.
yeah. Thank you. I made the visuals myself.
Yeah, that's dope. You got some like Elden Ring style.
Oh wait, it says
You just got a notification of us going live on your phone that vibrated really loud. That's hilarious. But anyways, we're talking about why breakfast sucks, and I think the real reason behind it all is nothing to do with the food, but the fact that we want to tweak so hard on caffeine, and food just diminishes how much.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
hit as
it
hard.
like messes with my focus, dude. Maybe I'll have like a Cliff Bar so I don't like tremble uncontrollably. But yeah, I don't know. Just not for me.
Hi, Mom. My mom's
Oh.
here.
Nightlark in the chat.
Hi, Mom.
Mom, the talented musician. So, dude, tell us. We all know you're working on an album, apparently. What's up with that?
Word on the street. Yeah, longest teaser campaign in the history of music.
So we'll get it in like 2 years, maybe?
Yeah, we actually just made a decision to add 2 songs to it.
Oh my god.
So it's
So 2.5
it's later
years.
now.
Great.
Yeah, I think it's like the way that these rollouts go. Like everyone will get what was originally gonna be the album probably before it would have come out, but then like we had some stuff happen. We're like, we've got to get these 2 things as part of this whole project, but then timelines, had to like push it out further. But since it's my first album, so I'm like, all right, we got to make this like as
Yeah,
much
you got to
banger
take
as
your
humanly
time with
possible.
something like that.
It's a statement piece, So like,
that's
might as well make it as crazy as you can.
I can't think of a bigger moment. I don't know, like a first show, that's a big deal. Like first tour. First album though is like a whole different thing. It's like that's your artistry.
Yeah, and there's like that saying is like you have your whole life to make your first album. So it's like it kind of like starts psyching you out. You're like, this is the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long
then,
have you been making music? Like how many years has it taken to make an album?
I mean, I've been making music for a very long time. I started playing drums when I was 8, and I got like super serious into playing in bands and stuff in maybe like sophomore, junior year of high school. So when I was like 16, I had like a whole kind of first music career in the band world. Played in a whole bunch of different bands. A lot of them sucked. A couple of them ended up doing some pretty cool stuff.
Like playing Warped Tour.
Yeah, like that is a thing that happened.
I love that so
that
much.
honestly feels like a different life.
Yeah. I mean, I was a kid who was at Warped Tour, so I had this weird full circle moment the other day where I saw Falling in Reverse for the first time. I never heard of them. Saw Falling in Reverse, got introduced to them at Warped Tour, and then 10 years later, I saw them at Red Rocks. And this was last year. My girlfriend and I. It was epic.
Did they headline Red Rocks?
They did. And
Dude,
it was
crazy.
It was the most packed Red Rocks show I've ever been to. I've not seen it more packed out than that.
I'm not surprised.
It was nuts.
That's pretty insane. Yeah. What is that, like 8,000 tickets or something?
Yeah, I think a little more than that.
Dude,
It's a
yeah,
lot.
that's pretty insane. Like, that's super wild.
So yeah, getting back to why like you, I'm curious how the transition. You know, you had this band life and played in some shows, got to play Warped Tour. That's freaking sick. How did EDM even come onto your radar?
Yeah, it was weird because like when I like first started out with music and stuff like that, like the dream, quote unquote, was like I'm doing the band thing, like 100% want to make it in a band. I was a drummer, so I sort of feel like the drummer has in terms of all the band members, like one of like the lowest amounts of influence on the like overall direction of the project. Like you're typically not one of the primary songwriters.
Yeah, but you're the guy bringing all the energy.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I love playing drums. Like I miss playing drums all the time. I haven't played in a while. I probably suck now, but um, I was like, I kept on like kind of doing this thing where I'd start a band or join a band or whatever, and I was always one of the like crazy motivated business mind people, but just kept on having this thing where it'd be like the singer would quit or there would be some kind of like interband politics or whatever, and it would inevitably die out. And I'm like, I can't carry this band on my own because I'm just a drummer. Like, I can't just like be the sickest drummer alive, and that's that's gonna make the band pop off. So it was like it was sort of initially born out of like frustration that I was super motivated and really wanted to do this music thing, but I had like no power. And it sort of weirdly timed with like electronic music starting to get really popular in the mainstream almost. Like this was when I was in like early college. And I was like, what is like I had never listened to electronic music
Was
before.
this like maybe like 2013 around there?
Yeah, it was like maybe even before that, like 2011 probably. And I had previously been like, that is trash. That's not music. It's like just compute your computer player. You know, I was like very like old head
One of those guys.
judgmental about it. Yeah.
Hey, I can't blame you.
It just started like just entering my existence. And I still remember like the first time I ever heard Rust go, I was just like, what? This is the craziest sound I've ever heard. Like that moment will always be stuck in my mind, just hearing like a wobbly dubstep track.
Yeah.
This is so crazy. And I was like in all these metal bands and stuff, so I was like, oh, this is kind of spiritually similar to metal in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
definitely.
I started
Yeah.
it's like breakdowns basically. So I was like, yeah, I can get down with this. Started getting more and more into it as a fan, and then sort of simultaneously, like what I was talking about, I was like, I need to just do a solo project. Like I need to be totally in control of my own destiny. So that's like why I started the project, which was dude.
Funny enough, that sounds quite similar to Seven Lions and how he started. I think he was a drummer too. And he's like, I'm sick of like all these, like I'm the only one motivated here to do stuff, and I can't get these guys to show up for band practice. Like I just want to be able to make a song.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I think back then, like this is, you know, when I was like really heavy in the band world was when I was like 18, 19, 20. I think I had sort of like a incorrect view about it. Like I think I was under the impression that the only bands that ever made it were the bands where all 5 members were hardcore, super motivated. Now I've sort of seen that it's actually pretty typical for most bands that it's like 2 of the people do 80% of the work.
Right.
And that's just kind of like the way it is. But I think I was just kind of like young and dumb back then. So that was like really upsetting me. But yeah, there's tons of people in our scene that have come out of the band world. I forget. I was just like listening to some podcast with Ghastly, I think.
Yeah.
and he was like in like a semi-successful metalcore band, and I had no idea.
Yeah, I remember hearing that too.
That's pretty
Somewhere.
cool.
Yeah, a ton of
I'm
guys.
not surprised. That seems like it sounds like it would be right for him.
Yeah, it's like you just keep hearing about people that everybody has this band history and then ended up in like the electronic music world.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's why I started the project initially, and it was like a total solo project. I was like doing vocals too. I was just like I need to just do everything myself. Like it was kind of even like to a fault, you know. And it was weird because it started and like preface this with like the music sucked. Like it was not
It always
good
sucks at first, you know.
Yeah, it was really bad, but I think there was like a few kind of converging things where like SoundCloud was really popping off around that time. So like I was like, oh, I can just put a song that I made today up on here and it will go like crazy and get hundreds of thousands of streams and stuff. And like pretty quickly started like outdoing the numbers and stuff that my bands were doing. So like, oh, maybe there's something here. And yeah, I just started like taking it further from there. Then yeah, started like DJing and all of that stuff, and now we're here, however 10 years later or whatever.
What's interesting listening to your discography is like the first stuff sounds very electronic. And it's like you almost left the kind of metal, the band, hardcore, whatever you want to call it. You left the guitar and, you know, real instrument driven stuff to go fully into the electronic. And then I'm assuming like over the years you started like introducing that stuff back into it and kind of finding this unique path. Is that kind of how it happened, or tell me about that?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Like I've always kind of been like a rock music fan first. So I think that sort of never fully left me, but I think a lot of my early high society stuff, I was just like I was like basically just copying people. Like I didn't really have any kind of actual, like there wasn't any of me in it. It was just like, I mean, the very early stuff, I was like very blatantly ripping off this band called Inner Party System. That was sort of like, I don't know, very like early blog rave type of stuff. And then once, you know, like bass music started getting bigger with like Skrillex and stuff, I was like, hey, now I'm just gonna copy Skrillex. And then I was like, no, this month I'm gonna like discover Party Favor and just start copying Party Favor like crazy. And it was just very like, it was all over the place. And then future bass becomes a thing, so I start making this like really future bass poppy kind of stuff. And it's like, if you go through my early discography, it's like, what is this? Like it's just it's just like no through line at all. Well, in the music, you know, I think it's very like, you can tell it's like a dude that is just flailing around, you know.
But that's how you like learn.
Yeah,
you know?
that's how I think everybody starts, you know, like you hear all these things and you're like captivated by it because it's super new at first, and it's like you're listening to it a lot, and then you're like, I'm gonna try to make something like that, and you're like, I like this a lot, but you don't really have an idea of where you want to go with your brand yet, or you know, stuff like that. So
I think it's like, if you're kind of immature, you're like, you're totally fine with just blatantly copying shit.
Yeah, which like for learning purposes, it's good. Yeah.
No, it's. But I mean, that's the best way to learn.
It's good over time because you take all of these things that you learned from all these different influences that you like.
Yeah. And
then eventually you have this like skill set to craft into what you've always wanted to make that you didn't know. You know, like you didn't know that. And you just come up with that idea eventually through all of those things you learned along the way.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny, like I left most of that music up. I took some stuff down, like the really early stuff that was just absolute hot garbage. It's kind of weird, like I'll have, you know, meetings with people and stuff like that, and they'll like mention it. They're like, yeah, I saw you have like this older music up there that doesn't sound anything like what you're doing now. Like you should probably like take that down. It's like, it's very weird because some of those tracks still like stream like crazy. Like it's someone's favorite song. So I'm like, I don't want to take that away from them, you know, but like I sort of see their point too. They're like, this is not like data moshy. It's just like a future based like Zed type of song.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think like I've looked into a lot of really big artists' early discographies, and like they have a lot of random stuff in there too. Yeah. I don't think it really matters because like people aren't really looking there, and if they are, they probably are just like a really big fan.
Yeah.
And it's cool for them to see your progression over time.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, like being able to see a progression on someone's Spotify page is really interesting and like fun for a lot of music.
Anybody who's scrolling that far down is like, they're definitely approaching like super fan level if they're even going past your top like 3 songs. You know?
Yeah. If they just hit expand on those top 5 songs, they're doing more than most.
That's already asking so much just to click that expand button.
Yeah,
you know
show more.
I know.
So,
or even to get into your page from a playlist.
yeah, that's a huge jump. God, it's gross.
I mean, I was just thinking about this, like, it upsets me, but I'm also so guilty of it. Just like it's so rare that I even save a song.
Yo, same.
Like I'm like mad that everyone has no attention span, but I'm like I also don't have one.
I know.
How mad can you be?
Yeah. I just don't. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just a getting old thing, but like I don't find much music that I really love anymore. Like I don't find new music that's really grabbing me. It's like everything that I love is 10 years old now.
Yeah, I think also it's like we're musiced out.
Yeah, and also like it's when you're a teenager, that's when it hits. Yeah. And when you get into it, and when it's like your whole life and stuff, so it has like the most emotional impact on you. It just doesn't hit like that when you're 28.
I don't think anything can ever compare to like discovering music when you're like a teenager, when your actual music taste is like being formed.
Yeah. It's such a cool time in life.
Yeah, it's awesome, and everything's new, and you're like, oh my god, this band, like, this is so crazy. I'll still listen to music a ton, but a lot of it, 50% at minimum, I'm like listening to like nostalgia music.
Yeah. I'd say it's probably the same for me. Yeah, like probably 50-60% is just stuff from when I was a teenager that still slaps.
Dude, I was just bumping My Chemical Romance yesterday, dude. Absolute bangers.
Nice. Have you heard of Wage War?
Dude, yeah, love Wage War.
Okay. That just popped into my brain because I'm seeing them. I saw them in Orlando for their 10-year show, their 10-year anniversary, like a few months ago. Now I'm seeing them again out here in Colorado. And
sick. Yeah, dude, those guys are awesome.
Yeah,
I've never actually seen them live.
Grand Junction. It's like 5 hours away. It's a Monday night.
Oh.
It's a Monday night?
Yeah, it's a weird one, man.
That's a crazy
it's
time
like
to
Monday
play.
night, like deep in the mountains, like Grand Junction, Colorado. No one's out there.
Dude.
Only cavemen are coming to the show.
But we're gonna send it, baby.
It's gonna be barbaric.
Dude, yeah.
So let me ask you this.
I'm sure they will appreciate it.
Oh, they better. No, I'm obsessed with their stuff. It's bad.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get back to your album. What is it? A like concept album? What can you tell us about the album? Because I keep hearing about it, but I want to know more.
So it is sort of a concept album. It's called DATAMOSH.
As it should probably be.
Yeah. What else are you gonna call it, dude? And it's sort of a concept in that the whole thing is basically like collabs with bands or rock and metal leaning artists. So I've sort of like traditionally throughout my whole career up until now, like not done a ton of collabs. Like a few here and there, but I was sort of, it's like even what I was talking about at the beginning, I was just like, everyone fuck off, like I need to do this myself and be a hero and like that kind of shit, which was definitely not like a good mindset.
It's part of the
actually
journey.
like it. Yeah, it's, we're all just on our own journey. Yeah, the way that it came about was actually kind of interesting. So I had done this one song with my label Fixed. Um, just like I did like a single with them, just kind of as a one-off. And I knew that they were kind of like this sort of rocktronic-y leaning label. Like they had a lot of like bands that incorporate electronic stuff, and they had a lot of like crazy kind of alternative artists that are like very genre blending focused and stuff like that. And I got this opportunity to do a song with Escape the Fate. It's called Burn. That's like been out for a while.
Yeah, song goes
And when
hard.
I got the opportunity to do that, I was like, oh, maybe the Fixed guys would be into this because it's sort of like, you know, a bass music producer collabing with like a metal band. Um, and I just sent it over like super casually. Um, and I was like, hey, you know, this seems like it kind of feels like a Fixed thing to me. Like, what do you think about this? And like they literally hit me back and they're like, yeah, this sounds great, but like we should just do an entire album of
Had you
these.
like talked to them before?
Like not really. Like we did the one
Yeah.
single, and like, you know, you kind of just talk to them about doing the song, but not like I didn't know them
Right.
very well.
Yeah, you did a one-off, and then you sent them this, and they're like, "Hey, let's actually do an entire album of this."
Yeah, like I was, and at the time too, I was very like kind of album averse. Like it doesn't really, you know, that's not the way that people consume music these days, is like a full-length album, you know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So we had like some conversations about that, but they were sort of like, yeah, this is kind of like a, you know, this Escape the Fate thing doesn't have to be like this cool one-off thing. It could be like a whole universe that you make. And I had sort of already been messing around with I guess now what we're calling like the rocktronic stuff. Like I had done like remixes for metal bands and things like that. But this was very like, let's do this super intentionally. Like let's make a project that's all about mashing these things together. So like let's do some like more collabs with bands, or like let's find vocal features that are extremely like rock and metal leaning, like Micah Martin, for example. He's another one of us, like just former metal band dude that somehow ended up in our space, you know. Yeah, so it kind of started taking shape that way. It's sort of weird because I had this data mosh thing going on the side this whole time too. Like I had just sort of found this cool word and I just thought it was cool, sounded cool. Started using it in like random songs. Like I'd put like a little AI generated voiceover thing, and I was like, oh, it's like data is like electronic and mosh is metal, and I was like, this is just so perfect. Like it just this is all kind of coming together. So we knew, like, even when I was talking to Fix, like we knew that had to be the album title when we had like 1.5 songs done. We're like, this is, the vision was very much like in place before we even started making it, really, you know. Yeah, so we got fair amount of it done, and it's extremely crazy. There's some like really gnarly collabs on it, some really insane like genre bending stuff, definitely some of the heaviest stuff I've ever done. I'm taking like a page out of your guys' book on a few things, like bringing in some kind of more orchestral, like cinematic type of things, and just really like I'm basically starting every single one, like every single track for it is like I basically write a skeleton that's just like, you know, your typical high society kind of like electronic thing, and I just leave it like insanely rough. And then kind of through the process of whichever band or artist I'm working with or whatever, we sort of like rebuild it. And I try to bring in like elements of who the other artist, like I almost try to like put myself in their headspace. So a lot of the songs I've been like talking to a band or something, and I'm like, I'm gonna make a thing specifically for you guys. Like, I'm gonna try to kind of do the high society version of your band, type of thing, you know. So that's been like really, really fun to like try on all these different hats and stuff, and turning out pretty cool. But it was definitely a bit off a little bit more than I can chew. Because you know,
I mean,
like when I was saying that initial thing came up, they were like, "Let's do a whole album." Like, oh yeah, that's basically just like making like 12 songs, but like it's like so much more than just making 12 individual songs. Like they all have to kind of like be cohesive.
You want it to be just something that makes sense as a piece of, you know, an album. You can hear when an artist just puts together 12 singles and like calls it an album. It's very clear that, at least in my opinion, like listening through. But when you hear something that was well thought out and like you can tell they put the time into it, something as small as like a transition out of one song into the next, like these little things, you know, really show the time and effort, and you know, putting that extra effort into making the songs cohesive is like, you know, it pays dividends in the end. I'm sure it will.
It's like, it's a fun challenge for sure. Emphasis on challenge, because I mean, I've even had some stuff where like Fixed has basically like rejected a song. Or, like this doesn't like make sense in the like universe of this album. Like this, it sounds like this weird thing way over here. It doesn't follow this theme. I really like appreciate them. They're super, super involved from like a creative standpoint in a way that is not like in a way that's actually like helping me make it better and bigger than like I could make it by myself. Not in a way that's like limiting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes the A&R process can just choke the life out of like anything that you're doing, but like they're really bringing in, especially as I'm trying to tap more into this like rock side of things. Like they have been doing this for a couple decades now. So and even like working with Cell Dweller on stuff, he's like the like OG rocktronic dude. So
I was listening to him in like high school. So to see all these years later, like being in music and watching what he does with the label is so cool to see.
It was like elementary school playing Need for Speed Most Wanted. Hearing
He's got
for
like,
the first time. That was insane.
That song with like Styles of Beyond. Right? Something like that. Yeah, Shapeshifter. Was that the song?
Yeah.
God.
Dude, I remember that first
iconic
self-titled Cell Dweller album. I was like my skateboarding album when I was like 12, maybe? Or like 11 years old. I was like, this guy's so badass. And like, here we are now, and he's a super nice, chill dude. And that's just like,
he's really giving back.
Some crazy feedback on my demos.
Well, that's got to be a cool feeling for you, like just from a personal, you know, that inner child.
He is like really. I mean, I think they all the whole staff over there, including him, has like really kind of like pushed me in a way to like just dive in with both feet on like merging these like genres. Like if you're gonna try to make a song that's like blending, you know, like metal and bass music and stuff like that, it's like just go all the way. Like we have this like meme where they're always just like turn the guitars up, which is like this sort of like joke that we have, because like when I started doing this sound, I was like, okay, we can have a guitar, but like I still want it to be like a dubstep song or whatever. And it's just like, no, like, fuck it, dude. Just like go straight in your face. Like just make it super over the top. And like, I don't know, that's like been really, really awesome too, from just like artistic growth standpoint, you know?
Yeah. With how you said you like send out these skeleton ideas, is that, so I saw like your last track, Ghosts, you have the Datamoshed version that came out with it, right? Is that kind of like you fleshed out that skeleton idea more in your style without adding the band stuff, and then you had the actual version that came out? Like, what's that about? Are you going to do more of that?
I definitely want to do more of that. The story of that one's actually pretty funny because there's actually like a third version of that was the original thing that I started with. And so I started it with a demo, and like the band that it's a collab with, Protect Your Heart, are like really, really good homies of mine for like 10 years. I knew the singer super well, so I sent him the demo that I had. He kind of recorded the vocal scratch idea, and I was like, "Yo, I know you're like in this band. Like, what if we get your band involved? Blah 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 blah." So I just sent them everything, and then they sent back this like very, very rock version of the song that is sort of like the original Ghosts or whatever on the release. And we sent it to Fixed, and they're like, "Yeah, this is like a cool song, but like it doesn't sound like you." Far almost over in this rock direction. And so I went and I took it. I was like, okay, let me try to make it like more like me. So I basically almost like remixed it. Like I took like a remix approach. Like I'm just gonna tear down everything and build it back up in my own way. And then I sent that back to them, and it was literally their idea. They're like, why don't we just release both of these? Like these are both cool. They're like different enough, and you can like have people like fight over which one's cooler or whatever.
That's fun. Yeah, that's a fun little idea. Yeah. I'm glad they like were cool with doing that.
This is like I you really posted a reel about it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like it's such a funny one with that song too, because that's like one of the oldest. Like I think the original project file for that song is dated like sometime in 2021. Like it's like super old. Like we made so many different versions of it. Like, but it was really cool to do that like double version dropping at the same time thing. Like that was like really just fun from like an artist side, and I think I'd like to do more of that too. Like,
and just fans
drop the DataMosh version.
Like just seeing an artist that you like, drop a song and there's like a different version entirely.
Yeah,
that's just fun, and you're gonna listen to both. It's just for the hell of it.
Yeah,
like, I think that's a great.
Yeah, it was cool.
Inadvertently, a good marketing idea.
Yeah, it was like a good fan engagement thing, and like even if you want to go super industry stuff with it, it was like they were able to pitch the rock version to like rock press outlets and stuff like that, and then pitch my version too. Yeah. So it's like you kind of get twice as much like ammo out of basically the same song.
That's smart. And anyone that plays it it's gonna automatically play the other song right in Spotify.
Yeah. So that it was like, I mean, this is all fixed. I was like, yeah, I'm down. Sounds good, but it's definitely their idea.
Yeah, that's sick. That's being that we just started this label. It's fun to consider things like that for the future.
Yeah, totally. And it's like you never know like what's gonna catch, so you might as well throw a little bit more out there.
Yeah,
if you can,
Yeah, going back to your turn up the guitar. Do you ever play the guitar?
I wish they could hear us right now. They were like, yeah, spread the word about turning up the guitars.
Just run it back a few more times.
Do I actually play guitar?
Yeah.
No, I mean, very shittily.
Better than us then.
Yeah.
Which is we don't.
Like but, I can get around. Like I'm pretty good with music theory and stuff like that, and I can like play like Crazy Train and shit. But
is that like a hindrance working with all this guitar driven stuff and bands like?
I mean, it's funny. I think it was in the beginning. Like I think it's actually funny to talk about that Escape the Fate collab being the first thing. The first thing that we did for this album was like this massive thing. And it's like that was kind of like the practice song to like learn how to do this style. Like it was even, I mean, I almost kind of forgot about this when I was talking to them about it. When I first sent Fix the song, they were like, yeah, this is cool, but what if you put guitars on the song? And I was like very resistant to it at first.
Yeah.
I was like, no, like stop trying to get in my fucking art shit, you know? Like I was very much like just me type of energy. And so like I had a buddy of mine like record guitars over it, kind of just following like the mid bass pattern and stuff. And I was like just trying to have them so ducked, like just to basically satisfy fixed wanting there to be guitars on the song, but like have them be as far back as possible.
It's like minus 20 dB guitars. How do you like that?
And like, like you can hear like a pick attack in there, so that checks the box that there's a guitar on the song. And like I didn't know how to mix with guitars or process anything. Like I've really just gone so far from since I made that first song about like how to just basically like produce rock music in general, you know.
You want to share the secret with everyone on how do you do that? how do you allow that to live? Because if you listen to any metal or rock song and then you listen to an electronic song, obviously entirely different sounds, you know, lots of crisp high end coming through on the EDM stuff, super compressed. Rock totally like sounds dull if you play it after an EDM song, right? How do you reconcile these things when you're creating a song with all of it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, that's definitely, I guess I could say that's something that I struggled with a lot in the beginning. Like it's very challenging. I think even, you know, we can get kind of technical on this podcast, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean it's probably mostly
guitar,
musicians.
yeah, especially like a high gain like metal guitar is like such a full frequency instrument. Like you're basically rolling off like the very very low sub stuff and then just like the very extreme highs, but you basically want all of the rest of that in there for the most part. So I think something that I've learned is almost like if you're gonna put a guitar in a part, like you kind of have to build the rest of the song around that instrument. Like it's just so full range, and like if you try to chop it and cut it and like hide it in there, then you almost just like lose it. Like it's sort of, if you don't have that like wall of sound effect from the guitar, then it's like that's like why you want it there in the first place almost. Right. I'm mostly talking about like rhythm and like chuggy kind of stuff. That's like if you want like this is metal type of vibe, you know. So that's like it's like I was saying before. Like I was trying so hard to like hide the guitars in there, and like now I've totally switched it to being like everything else is around the guitars, and the guitar's very up front, shining through, you know, like, and like there's a lot of stuff where I think if you're trying, like I do a lot of same thing on every song where, for example, I'll have a big rhythm guitar and then a cool like plucky shreddy synth lead or something like that. So I'll do a lot of stuff with like side chaining them together, and like finding, especially where like almost where notes in the like scale and octave goes, so that like, for example, you can get the attack of a plucky shreddy lead synth, but it doesn't have to eat the pick attack of the guitar. So like that's very very challenging. It's all like up in the like 2 to 6K range is like my hell basically, because it's like there's always fighting up
right, because that's where the synths and the guitar overlap aggressively.
Yeah, especially like speaking to the attack of the guitar too, is like you really want that pick attack in there, so you can
so it sounds like an actual guitar.
Yeah, because otherwise it just, if you roll off too much of that, it's just like a boomy like boxy shit that is like kind of guitar-y, but like you want to hear the guitar player shredding, you know, like really like wailing on it. I think too, like some stuff with blending it specifically, I really like having a real guitar and a like sort of more plucky, attacky like synth bass that's very straight up the middle. So the guitars are obviously like way out, basically hard panned left and right, and then you have this kind of like trancey, almost plucky bass that's in the middle, and you get the attack of that bass, so it moves it along and like keeps it feeling kind of like dancey, you know?
Right.
But you still get that like big wall of sound guitar feel.
Yeah, it's almost like in melodic bass, like what we do. You got your mid basses like sitting pretty mono, all things considered, and then your like super saw stack being very very wide. It's like the same effect just
it's almost like,
with guitar as the super saws.
Yeah, it's like I think it would be. I mean, I'm actually trying this on a song right now, but I feel like stacking a super saw and a guitar on top of each other is like going to be very challenging because they're kind of like the same,
well, they're all taking up they're taking up all
like,
the entire frequency range.
Yeah, so I mean that's something too that I feel like I've learned a lot is like you kind of have to like pick your main characters for each part and like stop trying to do everything all at once, because then you're basically just doing nothing. Like, so that took a lot of like, I don't know, growth and just like kind of accepting there's sort of like a limit here, and you kind of have to, if you want this thing to shine, then this can't also shine. You know, you can't have two first priorities in a part, you know.
Yeah. So. I think that's super super insightful for anyone who wants to make stuff like that. The other big piece of this type of music, at least I think, is the drums. You know, you've got these like drum kits or, you know, real sounding percussion versus these insanely produced, you know, dubstep kick and snare and whatnot. When you're doing some more like real drums in your music, what's the secret to getting those to have energy in like an electronic world?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I actually do like I mean, I feel like the first person that I discovered doing this was Swarm.
Hey, we had him on the interview last.
Yeah, he was right before me on here. Yeah, like I noticed like he was doing this thing. So shout out to Swarm. Basically ripped him off.
Jaden was after Swarm, right?
Right. No, it was Jaden. Okay, Swarm was 2 times ago. I've just been posting Swarm's clips lately, so my brain's fried. Sorry, Jaden. I still love you.
Love that guy. But yeah, like I would notice he was doing. I mean, this is also something that Cell Dweller did too.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, if you have let's paint a picture. You know, like let's say we have a breakdown that's happening that has guitars and it's kind of like chuggy and bouncy, but it has like lots of dubstep synths and shit like that. Is like just the downbeat of the one is like an actual dubstep kick that's like sidechaining the shit out of everything, so you get that like impact with that kind of like pump, you know. Then every other kick hit that you have is a metal clicky kick, you know. Like if you take those two things but you group them and like process them together, they don't sound so crazy drastically different, you know. Most of my tracks have like 2 different kicks on them, which I don't know, it's like at some point in my life I was like, that is not allowed.
Right.
Yeah, dude, I've heard that from so many people, like saying that you can't do that, and I'm so confused as to why.
With snares,
like, I use different kicks, different snares throughout the song, like depending on what I'm changing, because like you know, mixing genres is.
Are you saying that you're
with the same kick all the time? So like depending on the type of drop I'm doing, I'm using different kicks. Sometimes it's like 3 different kicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ever like stacking kicks on top of each other?
Yeah, sometimes. Like I think one thing I've discovered too, just by doing this whole album process, is like I've thrown out a lot of the things that I thought were like rules.
Yeah.
Like even like going way down into like technical mixing stuff and like shit like that. there were like so many things that I just thought for whatever reason, some like YouTube tutorial I saw like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just like, you can't do this, or like you have to do this on every song, and like you have to roll this frequency off, and if you boost a frequency here, you have to cut it in the other thing, and it's like there's all of these things that I think kind of send like there's all this like knowledge that I feel like maybe sends the wrong message, or like is interpreted incorrectly.
Right, like follow
it
these
sort of
rules.
Makes you, it makes you like defensive and passive when like you need to be aggressive, and like you need to like every decision that you make in a production or mixing environment, it like needs to kind of be serving like the overall vision for the song, not making sure you follow this 12-step mixing checklist. Like I feel like we all kind of can fall victim to that. It's like we saw someone who's established say you have to like always do this thing, and then you just kind of end up doing it on everything all the time without really thinking about why. And I think especially when we're talking about blending genres and stuff like that, it's like we're kind of like writing the rules, all of us are, like as we go. A lot of this is kind of uncharted territory, so a lot of that shit's probably not gonna apply for like making music that like in a lot of ways hasn't been made very much.
Like if you want to push the envelope, like you don't, it's not going to be helpful to just be blindly following rules. Like I think if you blatantly break the rules, you'll get a more interesting outcome than just following.
There's a lot of stuff like I feel like I have started like doing a lot of things that are very wrong, and it just like they just sound cool. Like I just don't care anymore.
That's what matters.
And it's
like
it's like one of
so
those
much
things.
More fun.
Yeah, it like the best
cool?
example is like you never boost your bass and your kick in the same range. Like you have to boost one and cut the other one. I'm like, sometimes it just sounds sick if you just boost both of them. Like it's just like you're not supposed to do this, but like it just sounds cool. Like I don't care, and like the song is fine, and like So I was just trying to have that mindset, you know, as I'm going through it. I think it's working. I don't know. We'll see.
It seems like it's working to me.
Yeah, whatever suits the song.
Actually, like related to watching videos and having, you know, just like blindly following rules. I recently like picked up, you know, teaching some students like who just started in music production how to do some things.
Oh, nice.
And I've noticed things like that. Like they won't know exactly why they're doing something, but they're doing it anyway. I'm like, well, why are you doing that? Just so I can get an idea of what they're thinking when they're doing it. Because it's not that it's like it's wrong. It's just it needs tweaking or something like that. But I'm just checking like what they're thinking when they're putting in there. And a lot of times they don't know. And I'm like, well,
you just saw somebody say it.
Yeah, and I'll tell them like this is like a pretty advanced technique, and I actually wouldn't even recommend doing it until you have a reason to. So like I would focus more on these other things.
Dude,
that are more important.
That's such a problem for newer producers. Is you like because you find these videos of more advanced things like mid-side EQ and stuff. Like no one really needs to use mid-side EQ. It's not a necessity. You can create great music, well produced without it. But like, you know, someone who's just getting started doesn't need to be worried about mid-side. Like, worry about writing a good song first, and then later on, 5 years from now, you can think about mid-side.
Like, worry about EQs and compressors.
Yeah, like that'll get you by.
Like your
OTT
and
baby.
And some reverb. Like you're gonna make a little bit of distortion stuff.
Yeah, it's like simple.
You'll
simple
make a
stuff.
good song.
But then you get caught up in these other things.
I see a lot too. Like one thing I've noticed, like this is kind of random. I've like started doing all these like guest lecture kind of things at like colleges and stuff like that. Just so it's just fun.
Whoa,
you know?
That's cool.
Get a personal fulfillment out of it, you know. And like one of the main questions, like I'll like give this whole fucking speech about like following your like artistic vision and like having like integrity and all that, and then like any questions, and then people are like, what's the best compressor? I'm like, do you know how to use a compressor at all? Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you have no idea what the
tell me what a
function of it
compressor
is,
does, and I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Like, I literally use Pro Tools stock compressor almost all the time. Like, it's just it's
Yeah.
if it's gonna compress, it's gonna compress. Like just if you don't know what it's doing, then you probably shouldn't use it at all, because you're just like destroying what could be something beautiful. So.
And the other thing to think about is that your audience doesn't know what a compressor is, and your audience doesn't know what the difference is really, other than like an unconscious level where it's just like, oh, the song's more clear and it sounds chunky.
Yeah. And I think it's like, even going back to like the songwriting is just always so much more important, and I think there is kind of a connection. If you're having a really, really hard time mixing something, it's like a songwriting issue. Like, just the parts that you wrote aren't do all these insanely surgical cuts and like sidechain the shit out of everything. It's like you probably have just way too much like going on.
Yeah.
A little bit. Probably delete 8 of those like leads that you.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying about how you have to pick the main character. You're probably having multiple main characters and trying to have them all say their part at the same time.
That's the truth. Yeah, and or just like it could even in our type of music, it could just be like chord voicing. Like you have too many notes playing. That can like there's so many mix problems that are actually just like composition or songwriting issues in reality.
Yeah. My process too is like when I'm starting something, I will just be in like Monster energy drink, just dump as many things on top of this as humanly possible. Just get all the ideas out. Like, let's have 7 different like harmonizing leads and all this like crazy shit. And then when it like actually moves on to the song, most of what I'm doing is just deleting stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't just like mute something, and if you can't really tell that the song's different, just delete
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah, me too.
I'll have like periods throughout while I'm making the song where I'll mute things, and if I can't hear much of a difference, I'll just get rid of it.
It's like I don't really like it more or less, so delete.
Usually it's the save CPU though.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm just like the king of like overdoing stuff, so I try to have some self-awareness of like, you're doing it again, James. You're putting 7 stacks of leads that don't need to be there, because there's also a fucking lead vocal on this entire part. So everyone's just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And vocals are a whole different ballgame. Just like now, time to remove everything in the song to get out of the way of said vocal.
Yeah, I know. Deleting more stuff.
It's weird. Sometimes, like, what I'll do too is I'll write like a whole thing that has all this crazy shredding and stuff, and I'll send it to a vocalist or a band or whatever, and I'll send them like an alt version that is like basically just the like mid bass chord progression. Because I'm like, okay, if you guys want to like jam on this, whatever, like don't let this crazy lead thing that I wrote like distract you from just writing the best like hook. I can always just write a new lead
for
in
everyone
like 2 seconds,
here.
you know? Yeah, like you really have to think. I mean, it's weird, I think, too, for producers that don't sing.
Yeah.
Or if you're collaborating with a vocalist, it's ultimately, whether you like it or not, it's about the vocal. It's about the lead vocal is what 99% of people are going to be hearing. Like, you know, if you're making like insane like sound design core, gnarly subtronics rhythm shit, that's totally different. But if you're like trying to make at least the type of music that I'm making, it's really like the songwriting is almost more traditional, and that kind of means like vocal first always, you know. So I've had a lot of, you know, sad goodbyes with like really, really cool parts that I wrote that are just like, I'm just producer flexing, but it doesn't actually
it's too busy
fit the song, you know,
for competing with a vocal. Are you ever gonna do your own vocals again?
Dude, I might. I like, it's weird. I write a lot of the top lines for my stuff. I might do some vocals, honestly. Like, I think I still got it a little bit. It's been weird because I've like little story time, for example. Like I'm like okay at singing, you know. I'm fine. I can carry a tune and like write vocals and stuff like that. I had Micah Martin over to record our second collab. Oh yeah, big leak. Micah has 2 collabs on the album, so he's the only artist that has 2 songs on it.
Well, we love his stuff, so that's good news for us.
Yeah, he's fucking awesome. But like, I had him over to record, and the first collab that we did, we just did it remotely. So, you know, I don't know how many like takes it took him to record that. You know, and that have him like 2 feet away from me recording vocals, and like, my jaw was on the floor. Like, this dude is just like an incredible singer. Maybe the most takes that it took to get any line was like 3, and like so many of them he just got like perfect take on the first try.
Wow.
Like, I was like, this guy is an actual like rock star, like good singer.
Yeah.
And like, so it's kind of weird thing because I'm like, part of me wants to do my own vocals and stuff, and I'm also like, but if you can get Micah on a song, like, that's just gonna be a better song. Like, it's just like, there's no way that I can sing like him, you know? So it's tough, but it does make it more complicated, obviously, you know, doing all these collabs. And sometimes if you're doing a collab with an entire band, then you have 5 other people that you're dealing with. And then that makes like getting all of the like contracts and stuff extremely complicated and all of that. So
right.
Yeah.
Just like the good old days in a band.
I know, it's like so stupid and ironic. I'm like, oh, I did it again. I went back to my evil ways.
Yeah.
Are you doing the artwork for the album?
Yeah, I do all of my own design work. The only thing that I have in my universe that I did not design is my live visuals, which are done by this dude, Architect. He is a beast at music and at like 3D motion graphic stuff. But yeah, everything else do myself. All the cover art, merch, motion graphics, all that stuff. I just do it on my own. Just finished designing the album cover the other day, actually. So that was like a nice little little milestone. I guess, you know, label hit me up and they're like, we need the album cover. I'm like, oh, that means it's like not that far away from being done.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
I know.
Like, what got you into that? You have a business for it. You do freelance graphic stuff. Like, how'd you get into that? How long have you been doing it?
Yeah, it's weird. So when I like was straight out of college, I got a job at this music marketing agency. Actually, like, learned a ton from that job, just about how to like market music. Obviously, I was spending 9 to 5 literally making other artists famous. So like huge DJs, rappers, like pop stars, shit like that.
Wow.
But sort of inevitably ended up having to learn graphic design just on the spot, just by doing. Like, I was running all, for example, so it's like, okay, I need to learn how to make like a promo image for social media. I just kind of started learning it more and more, and then when I left that job, I started basically doing the same thing but as a freelancer. So that, yeah, I mean, what year is it? 2024. Yeah, I've been doing like freelance work for like 8 years now. So I do like graphic design, video, and motion graphics primarily. And that has been really awesome as a side hustle for a music career, because you can sort of like turn it on and off.
Yeah, that's,
like
that's exactly what I need.
To, like, yeah, it's like if you need to not have a job, if you have like a crazy remix deadline, or you have like a bunch of shows or something like that, you can just be like, I'm unemployed, nothing to worry about, but then also got to make money to live in San Diego, California. So It's like if I need to kind of get some projects to pay the rent and all of that, I can sort of turn it back on. So that's been like a really awesome thing that I'm so grateful for, that I just kind of accidentally stumbled into. Yeah, if anyone listening wants to ask me anything about freelancing and stuff, I'm happy to.
If anyone has any questions about anything in the chat, leave them. And
I think with freelancing too, it's like really, I'm kind of passionate about helping people with that, because it's such an awesome thing. It's so great for artists to have as a side career, but there's like not a lot of, there's like no blueprint. You kind of just have to like fall on your face over and over. So like any chance I get, if I even get like a whiff that somebody at a party or something is like curious about it, I'm like, let me tell you exactly what to do. And like, this is
I'm
like how
curious
I
about
always, like, try to help people out. Yeah.
Actually,
dude, I mean, dude, you're my boy.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, I'm trying to I need to find a way to create more time in my life and also be doing things that I'm passionate about, even outside of music. And like, I love visual stuff, like, and branding and all of that as well. I just need to find ways to develop my skills, know where to like focus even, and I guess like how you find clients and stuff like that also would be good information.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been a crazy journey. Like I said, I've been doing this for 8 years.
Yeah, you probably got
a
lot of skills by that.
The first like 4 years, I just like fucking sucked. Like basically like was real struggle mode. Interesting is like I feel like to be a successful freelancer, you have to get super comfortable with like constantly reinventing yourself and being like super adaptable.
Yeah.
Just being kind of very open to, like, it's almost like it's paradoxical in a way, because you have to be like, this is what I'm good at, this is the service that I provide, but also like very open to random opportunities that could come your way. Like this is super random, but like a couple of years ago, I was just like sitting at some birthday dinner and like sitting next to some girl and just kind of ended up chatting her up, and somehow came up that like this like solar energy company that she worked for, like the people that they had doing all of their creative were like driving them insane. I was like, oh, I do that. And then I got a client that way. And they gave me like 2 years of freelance work.
Wow.
So, and like I had never done anything in like the solar world. Like I didn't know shit about that. But I was like, yeah, I can design stuff. So just being like super open, and like a lot of it, I think, especially when you're just like starting out, comes from your personal network, like stuff like that. It's definitely tough to get started. Like I have a lot of empathy with like for people that are like, how do I get clients when I have stuff and like I don't have a built-in network and stuff like that. I think a lot of it, the first few, come from like your someone like maybe your like uncle or some shit, like some kind of random loose family connection, and then then you do that and you meet somebody else from their company, and it like spider webs out from there.
Well, you have a network of
dude,
musicians already.
Yeah,
that's a good place to start.
And the experience just from like branding your own project and making your own.
Yeah, if they ask for a portfolio, you have a portfolio of your entire Celestial Void project.
Yeah. So that is a good thing, is like the basic skills are there, just kind of in the same way, just like needs come up and you have to fill them.
Well, it's like I always like to just jump into shit. Like I didn't know how to start a record label or a business or any of that stuff, and like, well, guess what? I found out by doing it. And it's like, you're not sure exactly what skills you need, but if you jump into a client like solar energy, you're going to find out really quickly what you need to be able to do, and then you're going to learn because you have to.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like I don't exactly know how to put this, but like I legitimately sell people shit that I don't exactly know how to do all the time, and then figure out how to do it.
Yeah, that's the best
Well,
way.
that's
to
the trick.
Sign the contract.
That's the trick, is becoming comfortable with like
Being
your confidence. Your confidence comes with, I know I can figure this out.
And, dude,
that's what the skill is.
You've learned music production, which is way more complicated than anything you'll ever be asked to do by anyone. So, like, you should have that confidence already of, like, well, if I got to figure it out, I can learn it.
If you can make a banger, you can definitely design a...
That's a fact. That's the biggest fact I've heard all day. I got
that is like a really good point.
One more question for you, and it's a question that I like to ask everyone that comes on here, and that is...
The question.
It's really the question. And that is, do you have a mission statement, first off?
I do. I think my mission... I mean, I just don't have like a statement, like a super concise...
well, we like it sloppy anyways, so
really,
give it to us.
Yeah, it's really twofold. I think like the first thing, my mission as an artist is to like truly push music forward and like pave new ground and kind of like sail through uncharted waters and see how far art and music can be pushed and like really kind of like break the barriers just in general of music. Like I'm super passionate about innovating in this space, and that's kind of always like whenever I'm making art is just like, how can we do something that's never been done before, or try to find, you know, some kind of like undiscovered way of doing things, stuff like that. So that's like a huge part of my mission, is just like innovation and you know, not stagnating and not, you know, not like copying and really trying to like be brave and bold and like push ahead for better or for worse, you know. I think the second part of my mission is like, really, music has been, I mean, like I told you guys when we first started, like I started playing music when I was like 8, and like it's really been my entire life, and like a huge source of joy and fulfillment, and like a massive part of building my like personal identity. And I think, you know, now I'm a little bit older, and as I've gotten older, I think a big part of my mission has become like giving that same experience that I had first getting into music really passionately to other people. Like, that is so incredibly fulfilling and awesome, so much more than like getting big milestones or like, you know, getting tons of streams or huge collabs or playing shows or anything like that. It's like, if I have a interaction with someone that is like, you know, your music really helped me or inspired me, or if someone tells me that like they, like, for example, one thing I've had a lot is like a lot of kids that have come over from my EDM type of stuff, and they'll literally be like, I didn't even know what like metalcore was until you started like bringing it into your music. I'm like, that is the juice right there. Like, that is ultimately why, like, I don't really care that much about the accolades and shit like that. You know, that's like a cool byproduct of doing this, but that's really what it's like ultimately going to be about, is just like connecting with other people and trying to do my best to be that artist that's on stage for that like person that's in the crowd. That was me when I was like 15.
Yeah, it's like,
you know,
like, it's the legacy that you're leaving in that way, and it's something, you know, that we've all experienced with, you know, we all make music. We wouldn't be making this music if we didn't have those artists that affected us like that. So we just want to have that effect on other people too.
Yeah,
I think that's
like
totally...
it's nothing like it. Like it's really, it's almost like a spiritual.
Oh, thing. I would absolutely
say
spiritual.
Nothing else that compares to how it's when you're in the right place and you have the right kind of like musical experience, like that can like literally alter the course of your entire life. It did for me.
Yeah, no,
And
same.
like
There's
being
so
able to
many.
do that for other
Yeah.
people is like the ultimate reward, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah, because you experience that spiritual connection almost with someone that you've never met, but yet you like understand on this level through this art that they created, and being able to give that to, you know, someone who's 16 like you were back then. That's such a cool like gift
yeah,
giving
I think there's
mentality.
I think so much of our, it's almost like it feels like so much of like the meaning in our daily existence is like eroding away by just the way that so much of the world is developing. And like we still have like music and art.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, we need to like death grip hold on to this. Like this
Yeah.
is like the last like true beautiful thing that we have. And yeah, obviously there's like industry bullshit and stuff like that, but like the true like interpersonal music connection like will never go away.
Yeah, dude.
So,
Hans
like,
Zimmer
that's
said
ultimately what it's all about.
he said something along those lines that I just love so much in his little masterclass. He was like, you know, when we've built the tallest skyscrapers and we've, you know, gone to every planet, there will still be time to tell someone a story. And that's how, you know, he's
Yeah.
obviously writing music to stories, and we all kind of are in some way or another. So, yeah, it's like no matter what happens in civilization, if the world ends, like there's always time for a piece of music in like a human being's life. That's a cool thought.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very very awesome. Like I just think it's so insane how, I mean, I imagine we've all kind of had the same type of experience that like something like that when you're a kid or a young adult or whatever can like really make you who you are in a way, and like totally just put you on this like life direction that is super awesome. So that's my mission ultimately at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing. I know it can be a little bit
It's really
personal.
putting people on the
Yeah,
spot.
no, it puts you hard on the spot.
Yeah, because like you can even have a complete idea of all that stuff, but to like put it into words in such a short form like time frame, that's definitely difficult.
I guess mine wasn't exactly short, but
hey, it never is.
No, dude.
It never is. I couldn't tell you. Like I've actually written mine down, and I still couldn't. I couldn't give it to you right now. I'd piece together a paragraph.
It changes all the time because like I'll have parts of it down, but then there's some parts I haven't figured out how to put it into words yet. Like I know what it feels like. I know.
That's what's so cool about music is like it transcends language.
Yeah. That's something I think about a lot too. Like, especially like, you know, I've been doing this for a while. Well, I'm on my second music career, and like I'm kind of constantly, you know, it's obviously not all fun and games, like trying to make a name for yourself and reach an audience and stuff. It comes with a whole gigantic Titanic sized boat of bullshit, and like reminding yourself of like what your kind of like higher purpose is with doing this, I think is really really important, and becomes more important the further along you go. It's so easy to get lost in like my mission is just to get X number of streams, and my mission is to get X number of shows, and then like that's like an external like it's not the right like type of goal to have, and it's like ultimately unfulfilling. So really try to keep it locked in on like kind of it's a great question. I appreciate you asking that.
Yeah, dude. I think every artist needs to know that and think about that all the time. You know, that's such a grounding thing. Yeah. And yeah, you can get caught up in all the stuff, you know.
It's the driving force too, because if you don't have that thing that's pushing you forward, you will give up. You'll give up or you'll get miserable. There are a lot of difficult things, and you don't know when you start out, but when you get into the scene more, like you see a little more of the harsh realities of things, and like it is a business. Like it really is a business, and you gotta make it that. But as long as you have the heart as the engine of your business, you're not going to run out of gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
I think it's almost like a view that I definitely had. I'm sure a lot of other artists have it too. Is like you sort of think it's going to get easier the further you go, and it like actually gets harder the further you go.
Yeah, because you gotta push from 100,000 to 200,000 monthly listeners. Like it gets exponentially harder.
It's like, do you create more content, or do you have to create less, or like are you annoying people and people are like bored of what you're doing now, or is it?
Yeah, so many things.
Yeah, I can't even count the number of times, because obviously you're always kind of like most of the time like tunnel visioned on your own shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'll reach some milestone that I had set for myself or something, and I'll think I'm gonna get this massive like joy and fulfillment out of it, and then I'm like, really, I'm just at the bottom of like a new ladder.
And it always the world just gets bigger every single time.
You're like, oh,
and it's
there's
hard.
these people that do this shit every day.
Well, it does remind me it is important to always kind of put yourself in the shoes of yourself from the past, and actually be a little proud of yourself for all the things you've achieved, because you've worked really hard to get where you are.
Yeah, and like you've sacrificed.
The old you would be like so happy.
Yeah, you'd be thrilled with where you are. But by the time you get there, it's
obviously
5 more milestones.
You want to keep that fire, of course. Like you do want to be like, okay, now I'm at this new level. But it's always important, I think, to take that second and just take it in.
Have some gratitude.
Even
if
it's
tough.
just for a second. Like, look at yourself in the mirror and just be like, we did that shit. Like, that's pretty fucking sick.
Yeah, have some celebrations. It's okay to be happy with something you achieved, even if...
In fact, I think it's necessary.
We're
you gotta
always
feed
getting
that
it from
inner...
all angles that, like, everyone is doing better than you.
Yeah.
And, like, you hit this cool milestone, and then, like, you're like, oh, but this person, they got a slightly bigger, cooler milestone, so mine is now completely negated.
Right.
Which I think, like, that's almost more important to, like, manage that than any kind of, like, songwriting or production or any of that shit. It's just, like, if you can keep that locked in mentality-wise, then, like, it's almost inevitable that you're gonna do great,
Yeah, that's a big reason I stay off of socials. Like, I go on socials to post whatever content it is for my project or for the record label, but I'm not looking at other people's stuff just for my own mental health of, like, I don't want to get into that trap of comparison. Because I'm not doing this to, like, try to one-up someone else, or, like, I'm just going to feel worse about myself by looking at all these people.
And the hard thing about that, too, with social media is it's pushing the most popular content to you. So you're seeing the people who are doing
the people winning,
that much better than you.
Yeah, quote.
Yeah, but when you see, like, if you could see the reality, what Instagram and TikTok and whatever isn't, like, pushing forward is that most people aren't hitting that mark. And, it's all of us in that game together. It's rough.
The number one thing that I find is, like, almost, it's so difficult to explain to people on the outside that don't do this kind of stuff, and you get some sort of, like, comment like, saw that pic of you, like, playing a show for 800 people, so fucking cool, like, you're famous. And it's like, do you realize that I just took 99 to get that one win? Like, I'm literally almost always failing and falling on my face. Like, I'm almost always getting rejected, almost always losing.
That is the artist path, though.
Is pushing forward,
Just be failing and getting rejected 99% of the time, and that 1%, though, that's what we're here for, baby.
I think, like, over time, you get the people around you that are really believing in your project. Like, it seems like you and Fixed, you guys are, like, really close and do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they're the best. Love them.
Yeah, it's good to
see how this album goes.
Yeah. Oh shit, he's cutting out. Oh.
Am I?
Yeah, I've been having some internet problems, but it's been understandable the entire time. So Sorry to those viewing that the internet's not great. I'm not sure what's happening, but dude,
you guys sounded good to me the whole time.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what's going on, but it just looks like the stream is being a little choppy with the
internet's always.
Yeah, our internet's kind of iffy sometimes, but regardless. Dude, thanks for coming on. This was amazing. We touched all the topics that I had in mind, and
yeah, we went deep, dude.
Dude, appreciate you being so open and sharing, some of your production secrets, your mission and
freelance
and
secrets.
Yeah, Eric's gonna be in your DMs.
Yeah,
tell me how to do it. And I want to be in your DMs asking how to compress my guitars and drums properly.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, you guys know I'm an open book. Feel free to hit me up anytime. I'm always down to share. No gatekeeping.
Yeah, feel that. No, we agree with that. We're any production questions, ask any of the three of us. We're all happy to help. And yeah, man, thanks for coming on, spilling all the secrets. We appreciate you taking time out of your day, and we hope everyone watching got something to take away from it.
Yeah, of course, my dudes. Thanks so much for having me.
Everyone, go stream all of High Society's music. Follow him on socials right down there.
Yeah.
Run it up. Got a huge album coming out.
Actually, speaking of remix for them tomorrow morning, so.
Oh, wait. Got a remix coming out tomorrow morning?
And we just talked about this.
10 p.m. Mountain Time or in the morning?
I think, I don't actually. I guess 10 p.m. Mountain Time. They usually turn over at night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I never look until the morning.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Hour and 38 minutes. Go run up High Society's new remix.
Run it. Yeah, dudes.
All right. See you guys.
All right. Thanks, my dudes. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Talk to you later.
Yep.
Take it easy.
Love. Later.